Welcome to our titled ConnectWorking, which will provide you with straightforward tools, techniques, and tips to effectively connect individuals within the Notre Dame network. Plus, we'll include a hands-on demonstration of online networking tools that are available to you. This information that we'll share today is meant to support and work for you, and please use what's most relevant and helpful. Depending on your career stage and goals, this will vary. My name is Sharon Kane. I serve as Director of Professional and Academic Programs in Notre Dame's Alumni Association. We're delighted to bring this webinar series to you. We frequently receive requests for how best to connect to Notre Dame graduates, and most often individuals report how valuable it is to network with fellow alumni. Given this feedback, we invented the word titled today's webinar, ConnectWorking, to describe this experience, and we're looking forward to covering this content with you. I will moderate today's webinar, which includes the presentation, demonstration, and Q&A session. Annie Duffy, our subject matter expert, will lead us through today's presentation that you see on your screen, and we'll leave time for your questions at the end. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the prompts in the Q&A section located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. I want to make mention the webinar is being recorded, and we'll post it on My Notre Dame website. And please know that the My Notre Dame website is being redeveloped and will have a new look and feel in May. And the functionality that we covered today will be very similar in the new system. It's my pleasure now to introduce Annie Duffy, who serves as the Career Advisor to Notre Dame alumni. Annie is a 2006 ND grad, who earned her degree in marketing from the Mendoza College of Business. And she worked here at Notre Dame's Alumni Association directing the clubs for 3+ years before transitioning into her current role last summer. As a career advisor, Annie provides expert counsel and direct support to our alumni. And she regularly provides instructions, techniques, and tips on leveraging the Notre Dame network for professional purposes. And Annie created today's presentation based upon those interactions with you, our alumni. So Annie, thank you in advance for sharing this information and insights with us. Let's go ahead and get started.
Hello, thank you, Sharon, for the introduction. And again, thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. We're excited to have you here for our second installment of the Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series, focusing on Notre Dame networking. Today we'll begin by talking about what many people don't know about networking. We'll follow with a discussion on which resources to use to uncover the most valuable contacts for your professional network, and then provide a brief demo of each tool, illustrating specific examples from various features of LinkedIn, as well as Notre Dame Alumni Association's database. We'll then spend some time going through how to set up informational interviews and provide recommendations and best practices for conducting them. And then we'll conclude with some networking tips, including do's and don'ts surrounding networking etiquette, such as appropriate questions, how to follow up, and next steps. We'll begin today's discussion by talking about what many people don't know about networking. Whenever I meet with alumni to discuss networking, I always like to start out by informing them of 2 outstanding statistics to help them build their confidence. The first states that approximately 70% of jobs in the U.S. are obtained through networking. This is huge. That's well over half the jobs out there. So this really illustrates the importance and impact of a strong professional network. The second states that over 50% of U.S. jobs that are filled are never even advertised. This means that hiring managers are going directly to their networking contacts and asking for referrals rather than posting positions to the general public. I also like to remind individuals that contacts can be found anywhere. Don't limit your network only to those individuals who you know and who you're most comfortable speaking with. Step just a little bit out of your comfort zone and talk to friends of friends, colleagues of colleagues, acquaintances in completely different industries. You never know who knows who. Whether it be a personal or professional contact, a first degree or sixth degree contact. They are a contact who can very likely support your professional career in some way. And when thinking about stepping out of your comfort zone when networking, remember, try not to be intimidated. Keep in mind, you already have something in common with this person. If you use the resources I'll be sharing with you today, you'll both be Notre Dame graduates. And since you'll be choosing exactly who you're reaching out to, it's likely you'll have much more in common as well, since you've chosen to contact this person for a specific reason, whether it be to learn about the company that they work at, the career path that they've chosen, and or the position that they're currently in. These are all perfect conversation starters. Remember also that so many alumni want to help, and many wish that they had more fellow alums working with them. Place yourself in their shoes. If you had an alum reach out to you for advice and professional support, I'm sure you would be happy to help. These alumni feel the exact same way. Also remember that you are the interviewer here. You're contacting these specific individuals to uncover information that you want to know. In many ways, you're in the driver's seat. This is not a job interview where the questions are being thrown at you and you're necessarily being evaluated on your answers. This is your time to learn exactly what you're wondering. And finally, keep in mind that you're building a relationship that will likely be mutually beneficial. While you're expanding your network, so is the individual that you've contacted. Stay in touch. Remember, you're building a relationship, not simply finding a contact. Stay in touch with each person you contact because you never know when something might become available. Follow up every so often to let them know your status and any progress you've made since you last spoke. Continue building the relationship even after you've met your goal. Networking is a continuous process that should never really end. The longer the process goes, the stronger the relationship. And finally, remember that networking is a way to uncover information. It's not recommended to come right out and ask for a job. While this likely is the ultimate goal, that will be apparent to your contact through your conversations. Use the time you have together to sincerely express your interest in their professional background, company, and or industry. Again, it will be clear to them why you've reached out, so focus on building the relationship and forming trust and rapport. Once that's successfully established, they'll think of you immediately if and when a fitting job becomes available. Next, we're going to talk about what all of you are probably waiting for, how to uncover those valuable Notre Dame contacts. With so many resources out there, we know it can be overwhelming to search for specific contacts who will be most relevant to you in your current point of the career exploration process. So we've chosen a handful that we believe are the strongest out there for our Notre Dame alumni. The first is located within LinkedIn and can be utilized by any alum who has Notre Dame listed in the education section of their LinkedIn profile. This feature is located on linkedin.com/alumni, and it's actually separate from the Notre Dame Alumni Network group, which some people confuse it with. It's a relatively new tool on LinkedIn, and it is my favorite networking resource available to our alums. The second resource we'll go through are the simple and advanced directory searches located within the Alumni Association's website. While many of you may be aware that these are available, and you may have even used them in the past, we'll take some time today to go through how they can be used most effectively and in combination with linkedin.com/alumni to gather even more contact information for alums. And the final networking resources we'll touch upon today are those available to you through your local Notre Dame clubs. All right, so we will begin today by going through linkedin.com/alumni. To view my screen in full screen mode, you can enlarge the demo box on the upper right-hand side by clicking that small box with the 4 arrows pointing out to each corner, which is in the upper right section of the demo box. To go back to the presentation a little later, click the similar box with the 4 arrows pointing inward. When on this page, you'll want to first make sure that Notre Dame is listed in the top right-hand corner of your page. This defaults to the most recent education that you have. So if this is not Notre Dame, you can adjust by clicking the Change School section in the right-hand side. Results will default to all alumni who attended between the years 1900 and 2014, but you can expand or decrease this to your preferences. You can then filter down even more through 6 criteria listed above here, which include where they live, where they work, what they do, as well as what they studied, what they're skilled at, and how you're connected. You can expand this list by clicking Show More, as well as entering hard key searches for cities and companies, since only the most populated results appear above. And to get even more defined results, you're also able to search for keywords and phrases in profiles through the search box up here. Now, let's say that we're interested in entering the marketing field, and we're open to companies. The first place that we'd probably start would be under the What They Do section by clicking Marketing. We're also open to location, but it looks like the majority of alumni in this industry live in New York and Chicago, so we'll make our search a little bit more manageable by also filtering down by these 2 cities. Since this is still quite a large set of results with 636 alums listed, you can also again narrow this down by entering in specific keywords into that Search This Set box above. So for example, if we're specifically interested in sports marketing, we can enter the word sports right here, and you'll have your set of contacts listed below, as well as the companies that they work at right here. Now, while you do have the option of reaching out to alumni directly from here by either requesting to connect with them or sending them a LinkedIn message, I find that response rates are just a bit higher if we take it a step further and combine this tool with what's available on My Notre Dame. So what I usually do is take the information that we have below, which at the very least will be first name, last initial, class year, city, and industry, and then entering this into the My Notre Dame directory search. So let's use Peter here as our example, and we are going to pretend that we only have a limited amount of Peter's information. Since My Notre Dame's directory is exclusively for Notre Dame alums, just as the LinkedIn alumni feature was, you'll first need to make sure that you're logged into My Notre Dame, and then once you are, you can go to the directory search tab right here. Once you're here, you'll enter the contact information that you have. Once you open up their profile, you can confirm that this is the individual by comparing it to the data on My Notre Dame, and you'll notice that about 9 out of every 10 alums also has their personal email address listed within their profile, which you can copy and paste into your email account and reach out directly. I personally like this process more than LinkedIn Mail because LinkedIn Mail limits the number of characters you can use, and sometimes it's actually not even available depending on the degree to which you're connected to the individual or their privacy settings. Since the directory is only available to alumni, the majority have agreed to share their email addresses for purposes just like this. Now, in addition to both of these resources, another great way to uncover contacts is through the advanced directory search of My Notre Dame. To navigate to the advanced directory search page, first go back to the simple search homepage, and then click Advanced Search. just above the simple search criteria. Here, you'll see lots of different criteria which you can search through, including, here we go, name of primary employer, job title, profession, field of specialty, work city, state, country, and work Notre Dame club. I encourage you to search various ways here since many people have their profiles set up differently. And the final networking resource we'll touch upon today are those available to you through your local Notre Dame clubs. Don't forget to tap into your local clubs. Clubs are a great way to connect with area alumni, family, and friends of Notre Dame. Depending on the club, many also have specific career-related events and programs going on throughout the year. So search for their websites by using the Clubs, Classes, and Groups Locator tool on My Notre Dame. And you'll first select the state that the club resides in, and then a listing of each club within that state will appear in the following drop-down. And then this automatically routes you to their webpage, which will include club officer contact information. Many clubs also have Facebook pages, so don't forget to search there as well. You can usually find this link either on their web pages or by searching right within Facebook in the top toolbar here. And finally, more and more clubs are also creating LinkedIn groups, so don't forget to search there as well, since these pages will be dedicated specifically to professional development. And you can search through those right here in the search bar on LinkedIn. Now, back to the presentation. Once you've uncovered the contacts that you'd like to speak with, you're ready to begin networking by reaching out to each and setting up one-on-one informational interviews. The best way to initiate these conversations is through email, which you've likely obtained through My Notre Dame. Even before you begin to write, make sure that you're clear on what you want to accomplish. If it's not 100% clear to you what you hope to learn, it won't be to your contact either. So do your research and express why you're reaching out to this individual. Clearly communicating this with them provides a smooth introduction. It also oftentimes offers a compliment to the individual, since they're now aware that you specifically chose them out of the thousands of alumni out there to connect with. Additionally, personalizing your note will make them much more receptive to responding, since they know it's not a generic note that was sent to potentially hundreds of people. They'll quickly recognize that you've taken the time and effort to do your research and that you're serious about the topic. And also, always remember to be concise. Due to the nature of emails, many individuals have a shorter attention span when reading messages online. This being said, limit the amount of scrolling they'll need to do to read your entire message. A short elevator pitch is all that's needed to start. You can save the in-depth information for the meeting. Next, you'll want to request the meeting. In an effort to cut down the back and forth correspondence regarding logistics, include specifics, but remain as flexible as possible, and make it convenient for your contact. If it's possible, make every attempt to meet in person if you're in the same area. Face-to-face meetings go a long way and are much more personable. However, there are times this isn't an option, in which case speaking over the phone, Skype, or Google video calls are great alternatives. We just recommend you avoid solely on email correspondence, as it really won't give your contact a sense of who you are as a real-life person. If you can meet in person, offer locations and settings that you're most comfortable in, whether it be over coffee, lunch at your favorite nearby restaurant, or even at happy hour after the workday is over. Offer up places where you're most relaxed, but of course still professional, keeping in mind convenience for the other person. And finally, make sure you prepare for the meeting. I know this sounds obvious, but make sure that you have all of your questions ready and do your research on the individual, their current positions, their career path, and the industries and companies that they've worked in and work at now. Make sure you're organized and ready to go because the individual will recognize this. And again, be further reminded of your degree of seriousness, which will just encourage them to invest their time and support even more. And finally, I wanted to share with you some important tips and reminders to always keep top of mind when networking. First, remember again to do your research. When preparing to network, remember the 3 Ps. First, study up on the person you're meeting with. Take a look at their current and past positions, as well as the companies they've worked at. And also take a look at their career path. Have questions ready, and be prepared to speak to how this all relates to your career interests. Always be respectful of their time. Try to limit your conversations to about 30 minutes, depending on the time of day and setting. Let your contact know the meeting length in your initial email so that they can plan accordingly. During the meeting, if you find that you could benefit from more time, let them know that while you would love to continue the discussion, you do want to be respectful of their time and would be happy to schedule another meeting to finish up. Don't forget to stay in touch. I'd recommend sending a short thank you afterwards with any follow-up questions or items from the meeting. Then continue to stay in touch every few weeks with updates so you can, 1, continue to build a relationship, and 2, let them know where you are in your progression. While there may not be anything available at the moment, there very likely could be weeks or months down the road. And if you've made a great impression and you stay in touch, your contact will think of you if anything becomes available or connect you with others who have opportunities open up. Remember, networking is used to expand your knowledge of industries, companies, and/or positions. Do not use informational interviews as a time to ask for a job. Your intentions will be clear as you discuss your background and goals. Use the information you learn from your contacts as a way to make yourself a more qualified candidate. Your network is there to help you build support for your job search and help you learn if this is the direction you want to go in. I always like to remind alums that a meeting where you end up learning that this is absolutely not what you want to do, maybe you found out that this individual works 120 hours a week, or there's no upward mobility within the company, these meetings are just as successful as those where you walk out uncovering 10 available jobs that you're qualified for. These are still successful because you've learned what direction not to go into. And the last thing you want is to be in a job that you loathe, especially if that's the situation that you're currently in. Have your resume ready. You never know what the outcome will be, so make sure you're prepared for the next step. Have your resume ready to go and tailor it to your targeted position as much as possible. And finally, remember that networking is the building of a mutually beneficial relationship. Stay relaxed and remember that this individual has agreed to meet with you, which means he or she wants to help. In many cases, networking is a win-win and both parties can benefit. And to summarize our presentation today, remember, the majority of jobs are obtained through networking. Never underestimate the power of connections. And remember, contacts are everywhere. Whether they are friends, colleagues, if there are 6 degrees of separation, they are everywhere and you never know where. So never stop expanding. Remember, just like you, Notre Dame alumni want to help. Don't hesitate to reach out to as many as you want to. Don't limit yourself to 2, 3, or 5 alums. Feel free to reach out to 100. Contact anyone who you feel could be of help to you. Also, make sure you prepare and uncover what you want to learn. You're in the driver's seat, and these conversations are for your benefit. So use them to find out exactly what you're wondering. Just make sure that you are professional. While networking is not necessarily as formal as the job interview process, remember to always still remain professional and create a positive impression. And finally, while informational interviews are for your benefit, remember that the overall relationship is a mutually beneficial one. Stay in touch and offer your support and expertise if and when you can. Continue to grow the relationship because networking is ongoing, and it's likely you may both need support again in the future. All right, and now we are ready to open it up for Q&A. So I will turn it back over to Sharon to moderate, and please feel free to send your questions through the Q&A feature of Adobe Connect. If we aren't able to get to your question today, we'll answer it via email after the webinar. Just make sure to please let us know your first and last name when you submit the question via chat.
Thank you, Annie. We have received a healthy number of questions from participants on the webinar this afternoon, which is wonderful. We won't be able to get to all of them, but we'll start. So the first question I'm going to share is there an NDCRM? This individual, Lucas, keeps track of the networking via Excel, but that isn't as fine-tuned as he would like. And Annie, I'm thinking about the career shift tool that you might want to share.
Sure, yes, absolutely. So while there is not a feature like that on My Notre Dame at the moment, Career Shift is an unbelievable resource which allows you to track all the individuals that you have reached out to as well as all the jobs that you have applied to. There's usually a pretty significant fee per month with this. However, the university has partnered, a couple of different departments on campus have partnered together, and that fee is waived for any alum who registers. And to take advantage of that fee waiver, the link that you will need to use is Notre Dame Alumni.careershift.com. And again, it's an unbelievable resource, and you will be able to track everything you need right through there.
All right, we'll take one more question to be respectful of people's time. This question is there a template that one can use to reach out to alumni requesting them to connect to someone they know? Also, what is the best way to reach out to alumni requesting an informational interview with a relevant person in their company?
Sure. So to answer the first part of that question, we actually do have guides right on the homepage of Onward. There are guides specifically for networking as well as interviewing. And in that interview guide, there's a section specifically dedicated to informational interviews, which does have a template that you are more than welcome to work off of. My only recommendation is to just make sure that you are adjusting that template so that it's in line with your professional style and how you speak, and make sure that you're always asking the questions that you want to know the answers to.
Wonderful. In the interest of time, Annie will respond to the questions that were asked to the participants very quickly, but do that by email. So please, as she instructed, provide us with your first and last name so that we can reach out to you and be responsive. Quickly, there was one question about whether the PowerPoint would be posted. Yes, this webinar, as I mentioned, is being recorded, and so the materials and the recording will be posted to My Notre Dame. So you'll be able to find it in its completion there very shortly. So with that, I'll let Annie conclude and point us forward towards the next webinar.
Well, thank you everyone so much for joining today. As Sharon mentioned, the recorded presentation will be available shortly on Onward under the Articles and Presentation section. And we do hope that you'll join us for the next installment of the Clear-Sighted Career Online Learning Series, which will be titled Enhancing Your Online Presence. And it will be held Thursday, May 29th from 12 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And an invitation will go out within the next few weeks. Thank you so much again, and have a wonderful rest of the day.